Monday night. It's August 28th, 2023. College football is back. Week 0 in the books. Week 1 coming up this Saturday. This is one of our favorite episodes we do every year. It's going to be structured a little differently this year. Usually in the past, it's our official college football preview show. But this year, leading up to this one, we've been doing the Power 5 conferences. So we saved the best for last, in our opinion, the Big Ten. That's one of our topics we like to say we're quote-unquote experts on in this podcast.
Yeah.
The Big Ten, football, basketball, the NFL, and the MLB. Well, the J-Man with the MLB, not Tanner so much. But pumped to be here to talk some sports for an hour. J-Man, how we doing?
Yeah, it's reached the time of the year where I was fired up to do this show tonight. And it had been a little while since I've been like, I cannot wait to hop on and do this show. But exciting times ahead. We have Big Ten, as Tanner said, this week, and then next week's our NFL preview. And then the football season's rolling. Before you know it's going to be week 8 or something. Or where'd the season go?
Yeah, it goes by in the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
Big show this week. Next week, we'll be not only recapping week 1, previewing week 2, but we'll be doing our NFL preview next week. So, our shows pick up pretty heavily from here through really March.
Yeah.
So the dead period's kind of over.
Baseball is not over yet. And
don't you dare.
I have a baseball question for you. It's all I could find.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
I looked all day yesterday, all day today.
Oh, boy, I'm in trouble.
Corbin Carroll, who plays for the Arizona Diamondbacks, is the 4th rookie in MLB history with 20 homers and 40 steals in a single season. 3 other guys have done this. 2 of them you won't get. So I'll even give those guys to you. Mitchell Page in 1977 and Tommy Agee in 1966.
I was totally going to guess Tommy.
However, somebody has done this in our lifetime. So who is that player? Corbin Carroll, 4th rookie in MLB history with 20 homers and 40 steals. One person other than Corbin Carroll has done this in our lifetime. Who is this player?
A couple names come to mind, but they're probably not right. They're probably not right.
Birdie Bogey is brought to you by Arlington Public House. Arlington Public House is upscale cuisine and cocktails with a casual atmosphere located 703 Main Street in Rochester, Indiana. $2 whole smoked wings on Mondays and $1 off domestic beers every Monday.
Yeah, take advantage of that.
Yeah, they also had their prime rib special Friday and Saturday, which I'm sure was delectable.
Pictures looked really good.
Yes, they did.
Prime rib is hard. It's hard to. I don't want to say it's hard to screw up a prime rib because I'm sure I could do it, but it's when prime rib is done well, it's one of the better things out there.
Yeah,
tough to beat. There we go. There we go. So, all right. What do you want to jump into right away, J-Man?
I say we do the Big Ten preview. We talk about elsewhere around college football this week, and then if we have time, we'll talk some baseball.
All right, fair enough. Or should we get the education out of the way?
That's first? A good call. Let's get you educated here real quick. All right. On this day in 1884, Major League Baseball pitcher Mickey Welsh makes a record for most consecutive batters struck out to begin a game, striking out the first 9 men he faced.
1884?
1884, all the way back.
Wonder what type of pitches he was throwing back then in 1884.
I bet we could both throw harder now than they were throwing back then. I will say that.
Maybe you. I don't trust my shoulder.
The old spitball, I'm sure, was a very popular pitch.
Do you have any idea the history of pitches, when different kinds of pitches came to fruition?
All I know is if Babe Ruth stepped in that box against pitchers he's facing today, he might not even been a Major League Baseball player. So,
right. It's come a long way.
Yeah. Different day. Yeah. On this day in, let's see here. Man, there's not great ones. Back in the 50s. Here's the 60s. Here's the 70s. Oh, man, this is a rough one this week, Tana, man.
It's all right.
1977, Nolan Ryan struck out 300 batters for the 5th straight year.
Guy's incredible. I mean, we say it all the
Yeah.
time when on this day segment when we're talking about him, but the dude was amazing. It's just too bad he didn't play on very good teams.
Yeah, and again, it's weird that he never won a Cy Young because he is
that's just
considered
stupid.
one of the greatest.
That's
ever.
just stupid.
Yeah, it's really weird. Yeah. Spencer Strider is on pace for 300 strikeouts this year. I don't remember the last time a guy's done it. Scherzer might have come close.
Randy Johnson ever do it?
Well. Oh yeah. I'm sure Randy did it. I want to say Kerry Wood did it once.
I'm gonna look up. I'm gonna look that up by year. So
one of his really good years. But it's really tough to do, obviously. But I'm gonna look up Kerry Wood real quick because I want to say he did it, but maybe he didn't.
Only 19 pitchers have done that.
I'm gonna say Kerry Wood did not do it.
It looks like Randy Johnson, the last one in 2002. No, wait.
Cool.
Oh, wait a second. That's Randy Johnson did it 6 times.
Man.
Schilling did it in 2002 as well. So he had 2 guys on the same team. That's stupid.
Yeah. And that was the year they didn't win the World Series. They won it the previous year. Kerry Wood's career high was 266, and we thought that was
Verlander did in 2019.
Okay, I thought Verlander did.
And Garrett Cole in 2019. Scherzer 2018. Chris Sale 2017. Kershaw 2015.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Then a lot of guys in the 70s did it. Wow. Okay. There we go.
Must have been easier to pitch back then.
Must have been.
On this day in 1990, Cubs' Ryne Sandberg is the first second baseman to hit 30 homers in consecutive seasons.
Would you say he's a top 5 Cub in popularity of all time?
Yeah, I would say so.
Or borderline top 5?
Yeah, he's kind of a boring guy, but the old crew loves him.
The old crew. Be careful there with your words.
Yeah, I know. I'm talking our parents' age.
You're talking about our demographic.
Yeah. So the Cubs didn't make the playoffs from 1945 to 1984, and in '84, Sandberg won MVP and led them to the playoffs. So,
I knew that, but I kind of had forgotten until you just said that, and that's just incredible. 45 to 84. That's wow.
Yeah. It's only 39 years, though, so that's like going from 2023 to...
That's older than we are, though. That's older than we are.
2023.
Yeah. But speaking of parents, shout out to your dad. Happy birthday to Dan Mudd today.
The big 6'2".
Big 6'2".
Big birthday. On this day in... on this day in 2004, led by San Antonio Spurs shooting guard Manu Ginobili, Argentina beats Italy 84-69 for the Olympic gold medal in Athens.
Didn't Carlos Arroyo kind of take over that year too?
Probably.
I think so, or at least against the U.S. he did.
That sounds about right.
That's kind of when I heard about him. I'm like, who is this guy? And then he was kind of a reserve guard in the NBA for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was around for a while. On this day last year, who won the PGA Tour Championship?
I know Rory won the FedEx Cup, so I'm saying Rory McIlroy.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking. Yeah. Tour Championship men's golf. Yeah.
Yep, and Victor Hovland won yesterday. Typically nowadays, whoever wins the Tour Championship's got to win the FedEx Cup, usually. Yeah. But there are some guys in the field this past weekend who could have won the Tour Championship and not won it just based off points. But typically it's interesting because when they get to the Tour Championship, it's whatever they've been scoring in the playoffs is where they begin. So like Ricky Fowler began 3 under, Sky Scheffler 12 under, or whatever it was on Thursday. And then you work your way up or down throughout the week. So, yeah.
Didn't know that.
Yep.
Last one here on this day last year as well. A 1952 Mickey Mantle baseball card sold for $12.6 million at auction.
I wish I had that card in my collection. Yeah. Dang.
I would not spend more than like $50 on it, though, and somebody spent $12.6 million. Becoming the world's most expensive piece of sports memorabilia.
And I like memorabilia. I like collecting stuff. I like sports memorabilia, of course. I always do get a kick out of like great for the sellers, but like the guys who are buying it for $12.6 million, what are you gonna do? Are you just gonna hold out and hope that even grows more in value in the next 20 years? I mean, what do you do? I mean,
How
the
do these
fact that you have that
people-
much money to
I was
spend
gonna
on
say,
something like that, it's pretty
how do these
impressive within
people
itself.
afford
But
these sort of things?
yeah,
Most expensive piece of sports memorabilia. I'm looking around this room here. I can't imagine I spent more than $20 on any of the things in my room here.
well, mine might be a Tiger Woods autograph in this room.
That's cool.
Which I didn't spend a lot. I just spent money on the program, or my parents probably spent money on the program, and then I was lucky enough to get signed. But as far as things I've like bought, I don't know. One of my mini helmets in here, probably. I don't know. I haven't bought a whole lot of. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, is that gonna do it for the
That
On
is
This
it.
Day?
Yeah.
And that is the On This Day sporting events that have happened on August 28th throughout the history of time. Brought to you by, like it is every week, Mooney Woodcrafts. Mooney Woodcrafts is a veteran-owned and operated woodcraft shop based out of Texas with Indiana grassroots. They provide 100% hand-cut custom designs that fit your needs, and their pieces are a great addition to any home, office, or man cave. You can see some of their recently completed projects by visiting them at Mooney Woodcrafts on Instagram and on Facebook. And if you let them know the Tan and J-Man Show sent you, you get 15% off your first order. So, I mean, football season's here. We've been saying it last few weeks that football season was coming. Now it's here. So get your favorite football team order in, whether that's college, NFL, perhaps even high school. Perhaps you have a high school logo that you want to send Thad, and he can make it for you. So get your sign orders in.
You mentioned today that Labor Day weekend is your favorite weekend of the year.
I think it is.
It is. It's hard to argue that fact.
It's just it's start of college football. I mean, I love college football. I think my fandom of college football grows every year, even though a lot of people can argue about what's going on in the sport, if it's good for the sport, bad for the sport, with NIL, realignment, blah blah blah. Maybe it's because I have more tempered expectations for my team in football than I do basketball. But I would say I watch more college football outside of just Purdue than I do college basketball.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I can just pick up a random game, and I think sports betting's got a lot to do with that too. But I love watching Big Ten football. I like watching other conferences play. Back when Christian McCaffrey was playing, we liked watching the Pac-12 at dark. Not so much anymore, maybe. But it just, something about Labor Day weekend. You got the 3-day weekend. You got games all day Saturday. You usually have a few on Sunday, one on Monday maybe. Some cooler weather's usually coming around the corner. So it's just, I don't know, just like it.
Yeah, it won't feel like it because I think the high here on Labor Day is like 98 degrees.
Yeah.
But fall is right around the corner. That's my favorite season.
Mine too.
Football, hoodie weather, bonfires. It just puts a smile on my face.
Yep.
Not many things put a smile on my face these days. I'm just kidding. A lot of things put a smile on my face. But fall is definitely one of them.
Fall is one of them, and we are here to talk Big Ten football today, but we'll also be picking week 1 games for top 25 teams, listing our playoff teams, all that good stuff. But before we get into that, my word association segment this week topic for you is Big Ten related. I listed it just in alphabetical order, and I did quarterbacks. We have all quarterbacks who have played for these universities, some better than others. I just thought of random quarterbacks, and we'll start off with the Illinois Fighting Illini and Wes Lunt.
Oh man, our good friend Evan worked with Wes Lunt's dad at one point, and I think he told a story, and I'm sure I'm getting the story wrong, but he got knocked down like 25 times against Purdue, and one guy who had a sack or knocked him down said, I'll be back in a few or something like that. He was not very good. He was slow. He was like a 4-star guy, transferred from Oklahoma State, thought he was going to be really good, and he just wasn't. Those teams weren't very good, though. Didn't have many guys to throw the ball to, but he did not help himself. Was not one of my favorites.
I always remember him going to Oklahoma State because he played, or I don't know what high school it was, but it was in Rochester, Illinois.
Rochester High School.
It was Rochester High School. Mm-hmm. And he was heir apparent to Sean Robinson, who was a quarterback at Purdue, or went to be a quarterback at Purdue, then switched to linebacker. So it must be nice when you can have one D1 quarterback followed by another D1 quarterback.
Yeah, Rochester High School has been a powerhouse in downstate Illinois here for as long as I can remember. We'd go to the Quad Cities every Thanksgiving when we were growing up, and they'd always have the Illinois high school football championships on, and Rochester felt like they were always in. I think they were 3A, 4A, something like that, but they were in it almost every single year, it felt like.
Yeah, must be nice.
Yeah.
To just produce talent like that. Indiana Hoosiers, Peyton Ramsey.
Oh man, was he better at Northwestern than he was at Indiana?
Probably. It was probably pretty close though.
I don't really remember much about him other than he played for both of the schools I hate. So
He played on some better IU teams.
He did.
Northwestern teams.
Yeah. Was he the 2020 year at Northwestern?
Yes.
Or was he 2021?
No, he was I believe he was 2020. I believe he was at Indiana. So
okay. Yeah.
I believe. I could be wrong. I should fact check myself, but I'm not going to. Iowa Hawkeyes, Drew Tate.
He had that Hail Mary against LSU in the bowl game.
Capital One Bowl or Outback Bowl.
I don't.
One of those two.
it was Nick Saban's last game at LSU, and the Dolphins.
I think it was the Capital One Bowl. I think.
It was in Florida. That's all.
Yes, it's one of those two, and both Big Ten, SEC go against each other. But he was pretty good at Iowa.
He was pretty good. Yeah.
That's when Iowa still is good, but that's when they were really, really good. Maryland Terrapins. This was a tough one because they've only been members of the Big Ten for not even a decade yet. But so I went with a guy who's played in the NFL, Sean Hill.
Oh man, he was a long time backup. He was kind of in that Ryan Fitzpatrick role. I mean, Fitzpatrick started more games, but it felt like Sean Hill got some pretty good playing time there at the end of his career. Was he a Lion at one time?
Oh, I'm sure he was.
Yeah, I'm sure he was too. He was around for probably 15 years or so.
I saw him whoop on the Broncos in 20. What season was this? 2014 with the Rams. Yeah. I thought Emmanuel Sanders died that game.
Yeah.
Michigan Wolverines, Devin Garter.
Number 98. I believe he's doing like pre and post game stuff for the Detroit Lions.
He is, yes.
Or TV work at least, but he was always, it felt like, more hype than substance. A little bit. I don't know if it's because he played for Michigan or whatever, but yeah.
Michigan State Spartans, Brian Lewerke.
Oh man, those teams. That was just 5 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
4 or 5 years ago. It seemed like those teams underachieved. He started from almost game one, didn't he? It seemed like he was a 3 or 4 year starter for them, and thought he was going to be an NFL guy, and it just never panned out that way.
Well, Michigan State had that, Jeff Smoker and before D'Antonio got there, and then Kirk Cousins, Connor Cook, kept getting these winners. And Hoyer, yep, and these guys who just weren't flashy, but just made the next level. Of course, Cousins has been a starter, but most of those other guys have been backups. And then after that, towards the end of the D'Antonio, you had Lewerke, you had Rocky Lombardi, some other guys I almost used them. Other guys shuffled in there, and then now Mel Tucker will get into the Michigan State quarterback position here later. Minnesota Golden Gophers, Adam Weber.
He and Eric Decker were pretty good tandem there.
They sure were.
2000s. Obviously, there's a reason why. Well, there's not many good quarterbacks that have been produced by the Big Ten recently. Cousins is obviously one of them. Maybe Justin Fields. Who knows? Of course, you have Drew Brees, and now, hey, look at old. Why can't I think of his name? Produced quarterback Aiden O'Connell.
Don't even get don't get me started.
But other than that, you look around the league, and there's not too many Big Ten guys in there. But
no, there aren't. A lot get drafted. Few find success.
Yeah.
Nebraska Cornhuskers, Tommy Armstrong. I about said Anderson. Tommy Armstrong.
They thought he was going to be really good, and he really wasn't.
Started for like 3 years.
Yeah, did he take over right after Taylor Martinez?
After Taylor Martinez, and then Tanner Lee, which is really weird for me to say, took over for him. And then what was it? Adrian Martinez was there for like a decade. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Tommy Armstrong wasn't very good, and that's kind of when Nebraska started kind of tapering off a little bit.
Yep. Yep. Northwestern, Clayton Thorson.
Oh man, I remember he was a 4-star guy, pretty highly recruited. He got drafted, I think, didn't he?
I think he did.
But again, I don't. He was on some good teams. He had a really good team around him, and that kind of hyped him up a little bit more than he probably was actually good. But he was pretty solid.
Ohio State Buckeyes, I could have went with a lot of different guys this past decade. Braxton Miller.
Man, I will never forget that spin move he made against Virginia Tech when I think it was his first game as a
wideout, yeah.
But no, my dad and I went to an Ohio State Illinois game. It was one of the bad Beckman years, and Ohio State got the ball first, and Braxton Miller went 80 yards untouched right up the middle. Took off, 80-yard touchdown. Carlos Hyde had 5 rushing touchdowns that game. And I'll never forget, I think Illinois came all the way back. They cut it to 12, and they got the ball back with like 7 minutes left, and or maybe it was 4 minutes left, and Beckman punted. It was like 4th and 15. You're deep down there, but he's just giving up, and then Carlos Hyde ran for 70-yard touchdown. But anyway, Braxton Miller was explosive.
Yeah, he was probably more of a true athlete than he was a quarterback, but he wasn't a bad quarterback. It was just JT Barrett came along. They thought he was better. And then little did they know Carlisle Jones was sitting on the bench behind Barrett. He would lead them to the championship that year.
Yeah.
Waiting for a Netflix documentary about that team and the Urban Meyer years in Ohio State to come out one of these days.
No, yeah.
The Kings of the Buckeye Land. I don't know. Yeah, I can't come up with a good title off the top of my head. Penn State Nittany Lions, Christian Hattenberg.
Bust. Started as a true freshman. You're like, man, this guy's going to be
Wasn't he a 5-star?
He was like a top 10 recruit or something like that. And then he just kind of leveled out after his freshman year, ended up getting taken by the Jets in the second round. But I don't even know if he threw a regular season pass in the NFL. He was a major bust.
Yeah. Purdue Boilermakers, Elijah Sindelar.
Oh man, you liked old Sindelar there.
I did. I still kind of a what if for me if he didn't get hurt his senior year at Purdue, because I think he had NFL arm talent, but
it was kind of him and Blau duking it out, wasn't it, all the time?
Yep. Brooks Brom started Sindelar game 1 of his tenure against Louisville, and then him and Blau back and forth 17. Then Blau got hurt. Sindelar goes on that run at the end of the year on a torn ACL. Little did Purdue fans know. And then 2018, started the first game against Northwestern when Rondell Moore went nuts. But then he didn't play well, and then they end up redshirting him, and Blau took over for the year. And then 19, started the year, and then tore his shoulder up against Minnesota. Same play when Rondell Moore got hurt, and that was the end of his career. He could have came back for one more year in 2020, but he was ready to just move on with life. And I believe he's an engineer for Chrysler. I believe.
Oh,
yeah.
Typical Purdue nerd, huh?
Yep. 2 more here. Rutgers Scarlet Knights, Tom Savage.
Oh, man.
This was the hardest one of them all.
That had to be really difficult to find one that even...
I could have put Dolphin legend Ray Lucas down, but...
Ray Lucas. I like that one better. Tom Savage. Why do I feel like he ended up transferring to Pittsburgh?
He might have, but I know he started an NFL playoff game.
He did. I want to say he's out of Pitt, though. Like, he started at Rutgers and then transferred to Pitt.
You might be right.
But no, hey, he played at Rutgers. Yeah, he obviously didn't do anything in the NFL besides start that playoff game. But.
And lastly, Wisconsin Badgers, side Russell Wilson. You could have picked a lot of guys here and just plugged them in. So I went with Alex Hornibrook.
Oh, man. Wasn't he like the cockiest, like, player in Wisconsin history? Ends up transferring to where did he go? Florida State?
Yeah, I was gonna say Florida or Florida State. I think Florida State's right, and he wasn't good down there either.
Wasn't good there. He did. I think the only thing I can remember him doing is beating Purdue.
Of course, every
Badger
quarterback since 2004 has.
It was a close game though in Wisconsin, I remember. But
that was probably 2017. I think Purdue lost by like 11 points. I
think we were at a wedding that day.
We were. You got a good memory.
I do.
Well, that is going to do it for the word association segment, Big Ten version this week, which is brought to you by Like It Is Every Week, Proforma Print 2 promo group. If you're looking for a trustworthy, dependable resource for your next trade show, company picnic, or sales meeting, Proforma Print 2 promo group has over 50 years combined experience in promotional products and commercial print. They strive for fast and efficient response to all your print needs, so you need to look no further. Let them be your one-source print and promotional company today by giving Barbara Van Weinsberg a call at 574-210-3815. Now we can hop into the Big Ten.
I'm excited to see who you got winning some of these divisions here.
Well, let's do the Big Ten East first, shall we? And let's start at the basement instead of the top. I'm guessing we both have the same team at number 7, but I could be wrong. Who do you have finishing last in the Big Ten East?
I have the Indiana Hoosiers.
I'm wrong. I have the Rutgers Scarlet Knights.
I have Indiana going 3-9. They got a transfer quarterback from Tennessee, Traven Jackson. He was their third string guy at Tennessee. Then they have 5 transfer starters on defense led by Andre Carter from Western Michigan, who had 13.5 tackles for loss last year. I don't think they'll be very good, and I would not be surprised if this is Tom Allen's last year, assuming that buyout goes down.
I have Indiana at 6, 4-8 overall, 2-7 in the conference. I have them in the conference beating Rutgers, and I have them also beating Michigan State at home. Traven Jackson should be mentioned. He is the brother of Trace Jackson Davis.
Didn't know that.
So there's the connection there. Yes, I was kind of surprised he didn't go to IU out of high school. He went down to Tennessee. You said 5 new guys on defense or transfers. They only have 2 returning starters on defense. Which once again, maybe that's for the better. I don't know. They start off. We'll get to the picks later, but start off this week hosting Ohio State. Seems like they kick off their season more times than not against Ohio State. They do host Indiana State. They play Louisville at Lucas Oil and host the Akron Zips. So should get 2 wins there in the non-conference. I don't think they'll beat Louisville, but maybe they will. My last pick in the East, Rutgers Scarlet Knights. I have them at 3-9, 1-8 in the conference.
I have them 6th at 4-8.
Greg Schiano's. I don't know. I mean, they got to be patient here. Rutgers just doesn't add much for football to the conference.
They scored 17 points a game last year.
Yeah, 17.4 points per game. You're not going to win a lot
while giving up 30 a game on defense. So they're pretty bad.
Yeah. They return their quarterbacks. Gavin, I cannot read my writing. Winnat, I believe his name is. I cannot read my writing, but he is not a transfer or anything, so he was on their team last year. They open up the season as well this week with a conference game against Northwestern, so that's going to be a battle of the juggernauts there. They host Temple, they host Virginia Tech, and then they host Wagner in week 5. So, interesting little non-conference. There's a lot of interesting non-conference games for Big Ten opponents I've seen this year. Some are kind of mixed in the middle of the schedule, but most of them are in your first 3 weeks. So, who do you have at number 5 in the Big Ten East?
I have Michigan State finishing 5th at 6-6.
Got them bowl eligible.
I do.
Tuck coming, as everybody was saying last year.
Yeah.
I have the Spartans as 5 as well, but I don't have them going bowling. I have them at 5-7, 3-6 in the conference.
Yeah, Noah Kim is likely their starting quarterback, and he was solid backing up Peyton Thorne, who transferred to Auburn. And then, of course, their running back, Jalen Berger, returns, who had a pretty good year. And Cal Holiday, who was the first-team All-Big Ten linebacker at 120 tackles. So there's a decent nucleus there, at least.
Yeah, not only did they lose Peyton Thorne, they lost their best wide receiver, Keon Coleman, to Florida State. So they're impacted by the worst for the transfer portal. They're non-conference. They have 3 home games. Central Michigan, which playing a directional school, is always kind of nerve-wracking. Playing Richmond and playing Washington. That game's on Peacock. I think that's one of the first ones, if not the first one on Peacock this year. So I think they played at Washington last year, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a home and home.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're part of the Big Ten East. This should be stated for anybody who doesn't already know. This is the last year of the divisions. Not sure what they're going to do going forward next year now with 18 teams. So this is last year of the Big Ten East and West. And of course, if you're on the East, your schedule is going to be a little harder than it is on the West. But and to throw in a really good team like Washington, who I have winning the Pac-12, it's not easy for the Spartans. So who do you have fourth?
I have Maryland.
I have the Terps as well.
I feel like it's a clear top 3 and a clear bottom 4.
I do too.
Although I think Maryland's quite a bit better than the other 3 teams in that bottom 4. I do have them 7-5. Tua's brother is the probably top returning quarterback in the Big Ten this year. Running back Roman Hemby had 989 yards and 10 touchdowns last year. They had a transfer wide receiver, Ty Chambers, who had over 1,000 yards at FIU in 2021. And they were halfway decent defensively last year, which kind of surprised me.
Yeah, they lost some close games last year. Tua's little brother, Talia, whatever. I just call him Tua's little brother because I know I'm going to botch his name every week. Yeah, he's either the top returning quarterback or the second. I've seen a couple people have J.J. McCarthy of Michigan ranked as a top returning quarterback in the Big Ten. But I think Maryland's going to be pretty good. I mean, I got them 7-5 as well, 4-5 in the conference, but I could see them 8-4 pretty easily. Don't know if they can get the 9. If so, 9's their max of their ceiling, I would say. But it will be an interesting year for Mike Locksley and company because they only return 9 of 22 starters. So it is a new nucleus there in College Park. I think, is that right? Yeah. College Park, Maryland. So who do you have finishing third in the East?
I have Penn State at 10-2. Drew Aller was pretty good backing up Sean Clifford as a true freshman last year. I believe he came in against Purdue and played.
He did.
Nicholas Singleton as a freshman running back had over 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns. They also have Katron Allen, who was a running back, had over 800 yards and 10 touchdowns. They're going to put up some points. And then Kalen King is one of the better DBs in the conference. He'll likely be a first-team All-Big Ten sort of guy. So I honestly think it could be a coin flip between the top 3, depending on how things shake out. But I think Penn State will be really, really good.
Well, I have Penn State winning the East.
Oh,
it was one of my 23 bold predictions for 2023.
Yeah.
So when I made that back in January, I kind of got to stick with it. I have the Nittany Lions going 11-1, 8-1 in the conference, with that loss being at Ohio State. You've pretty much hit on all my notes I had written down for Penn State. Manny Diaz is their defense coordinator, second year there, old ex-Miami, Florida coach. He did a real good job with that defense last year. They should be solid again. I think this is do or die time for James Franklin. I know he just got a big contract extension, but I feel like this is the year they really need to get over the hump. They're preseason ranked 7th. They got all the talent to do it.
Yeah. It does feel like this is his most talented team coming in, at least hype-wise. It feels like that.
Yep. But yeah, it'll be interesting with Drew Aller. I mean, Penn State fans love him. They love what he did kind of in reserve last year, but now he is the guy. There's really no unknown on him, so how can he handle the pressure? That's and we'll find out this weekend against West Virginia, even though I don't think West Virginia is going to be very good. But I am glad they're getting that rivalry back together. That they used to play every year, or this is the 60th meeting between the two schools. It started in like 1943, I believe, but it's the first time they're playing since '92. So for whatever reason, they took a break for a while. So yes. And with Penn State winning, my third place team is Ohio State.
There's no way Ryan Day survives a third place finish. Really? You think so?
Well, here's what's crazy. You're probably right, but I'm trying to find my notes. I got notes all over the place here. You're probably right, but I still have them finishing 10-2 and 7-2 in the conference.
Yeah,
but
finishing 10-2.
The problem is I have one of those 2 losses being at Michigan.
Yeah.
I don't know if he can survive 3 losses to Michigan, but my goodness, at 99% of the schools in the country, if you have the overall record that Ryan Day does so far in Columbus, they're building a statue for you.
Yeah. If Illinois were to go 10-2, They would burn Memorial Stadium to the ground out of happiness.
Yeah, same thing with Purdue though. New renovations at Ross State would be out the window, and they have to be renovated all over again.
Yeah.
Key question for Ohio State is who's going to be their quarterback? Is it going to be Devin Brown or Kyle McCord? I have not heard either way yet.
They have not. Yeah, they have not even announced. It does sound like McCord probably is going to be the guy. But
Or could they go two quarterbacks?
When has that ever worked?
Rarely.
Rarely.
Very rarely.
Maybe they do.
But when you have guys like Mayan Williams at running back, Trayvon Henderson running back, and Marvin Harrison Jr. wide receiver, you might be able to work a two quarterback system out.
And even Emeka Egbuka, who had over 1,100 yards receiving and 10 touchdowns last year.
Right.
So yeah,
they do have 3 new starters on the offensive line, so they're going to have to work that out a little bit. I just still think they're going to be really good, but I just think Penn State, Michigan are going to be better.
Yeah.
So you have Penn State number 2, and Michigan.
Penn State 3rd, Ohio State 2.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. Michigan 1. I have Michigan 2, but once again, I have Michigan really good. I have them at 11-1 with their lone loss. Their lone loss being at Penn State.
I believe that's the lone loss I have for them as well.
So I mean, Jim Harbaugh is out the first 3 games of the season, but those first 3 games are against Eastern Carolina. Bowling Green, and I don't even know week 2. I can't read my writing. I wrote so fast earlier today.
It is kind of cool. He chose a different assistant to be the head coach for each of those games, and he has one guy, I think it's week 2, coaching the first half, and then another guy coaching the second half. So that's kind of cool. He did that.
Mike Hart's the second half coach of that game,
and then I want to say it's his nephew, maybe.
Was his nephew or is his other? Yeah, I think nephew, or is it, or is there a third brother?
I have no idea.
But his dad's His dad's an assistant for all these games.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting. Is a good way to put it for the milkman. Harbaugh's done a pretty good job last 2 years, back-to-back Big Ten champs, back-to-back playoff appearances. Definitely saved his job. J.J. McCarthy, a lot of expectations on him going into the year. They got one of the best, if not the best, returning running back in the country in Blake Corum. Yeah. And their defense only gave up 16.1 points per game last year. So
Blake Corum's an interesting Heisman pick. I've seen Michigan fans say if he doesn't get hurt in week 12, he wins the Heisman. There's no way he wins it over Caleb Williams last year.
I agree.
Yeah, he's probably going to be in that top 3 to 5 convo heading into the year anyway.
Yes. So you have Michigan out of the East. I have Penn State out of the East. Let's break down the West and see who we have in the Big Ten championship game. I'm pretty sure we both have the same team at number 7.
Yeah, Northwestern.
Northwestern
winning 2 games though.
I have them 2-10 and 0-9 in conference.
Yeah, I don't think I have them win a conference game. They do have a transfer quarterback from Cincinnati, Ben Bryant, who threw 21 touchdowns last year. That's the only note I wrote on them. So
David Braun is the new head coach. Their 2 wins, I have them beating Temple at home in week 2 and Howard in midseason.
I think that's what I have as well.
Yep. So, and it's not going to be very good there in Evanston, I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think. Who do you have finishing number 6 in the West?
I have the Purdue Boilermakers.
I have the Purdue Boilermakers as well.
I have them finishing 5-7.
I have them finishing 5-7 as well.
Oh, okay.
I know that's shocking everybody. But
I thought for sure you'd have them second or something.
No, I really, really wanted to put them at 6-6, and I took my time and almost had it, but just couldn't come up with that 6th win on the schedule. Their schedule is tough.
It's tough. Yeah.
It's very tough. I mean, when you have a non-conference, Fresno State, who's a 10-win team last year, at Virginia Tech, which Virginia Tech's not the Virginia Tech they were a decade ago, but still Lane Stadium in Blacksburg's a tough place to play. And then Syracuse at night, who was bowl eligible last year and beat Purdue last year. There's no cupcakes in that non-con. And then your East opponents are Indiana, but also Ohio State and Michigan. Pretty tough slate.
That's pretty tough. I will say, assuming Ryan Walters has his traditionally good defense, that significantly raises the floor. Because if you can get good defense, it can keep you in the games. This Purdue team kind of reminds me of the Illinois team in 2021, which was Walter's first year at Illinois. Took over a more talented defense, but the defense that was awful in 2020 turned them into solid, and then they ended up going 5-7, being pretty close to being bowl eligible. So that's kind of who this Purdue team reminds me of. They do have a much better quarterback play than Illinois did with Hudson Card coming in.
Yeah, Hudson Card, everybody says he's the real deal. But that's practicing against your own team. He did get some time at Texas. He was pretty good last year in reserve against Alabama when Quinn Ewers went out. And I think he also played against Texas Tech, West Virginia, and somebody else last year. But he wasn't going to be the guy down there. Got Quinn Ewers, you got Arch Manning, you got some other guy down there too. So Walters really wanted him. That was his first plan of action when he became Purdue's head coach. Went and got him. And I think this team will go as Hudson Card can go, but my concern is the offensive line. Offensive line's already banged up going into this week. 2 of the regular starters aren't going to be playing this weekend. So can they keep Hudson Card healthy? Also, I'm real curious how Graham Harrell's going to incorporate this air raid style, because I don't think it can be a flat-out air raid when your best offensive weapon's your running back in Devin Mockabee. You got to get him involved some. Maybe that's getting him involved with receptions out of the backfield. I think Tyron Tracy's got to be in the mix there, running back. He's a converted wide receiver transfer from Iowa. Last year he was just wide receiver. This year he asked the staff if he could switch to running back, and he is the backup behind Mockabee now. And who's going to be wide receiver number 1 for Purdue? I'm guessing it's going to be a guy named Deion Burks, who is I think a redshirt sophomore, maybe junior. It could be T.J. Sheffield, Marshawn Rice, Abdul Rahman Yassin. They got a lot of guys who have played but not in big roles. So now, it's going to be no David Bell or Charlie Jones. That's what I'm trying to say. Who's going to step up? And really, I think their number 1 receiving target is going to be a tight end named Garrett Miller, who blew his knee out last year. He's a 5th-year senior. But today the depth chart came out, and he is not playing this week, and his knee's not quite ready. So hopefully he will be in the next coming weeks. Only 4 returning starters on defense. I, for the first time in years, have to print out a roster for Saturday because they have so many newcomers. They have all 4 new cornerbacks. I have no idea. First string, second string, I have no idea the corners this year. And they have a true freshman starting at safety next to Cam Allen, which is the first true freshman starting at safety I can remember at Purdue having since 2006. So, and another Thieneman. His 2 older brothers played at Purdue. He's the 3rd one to come through. So, really looking forward to the season, but a lot of question marks. I wanted 6-6. I think 6-6 would be a great season. But I'm trying to be realistic here, and I got them at 5-7. 3-6 in conference. 3-6 in conference. So
I'm proud of you, T-Dog.
Yep. Who do you got 4th in the or 5th in the East? Excuse me.
I have Nebraska.
I think I got Illinois, if I remember right. I do have Illinois.
Nebraska finishing 6-6. Matt Rule is there. Obviously, he's a proven program builder. He was at Temple, and he built them up to a really good program. Then he took over a dumpster fire at Baylor, built them back up. Was not good in the NFL, but I think he'll get Nebraska back to being at least competent in the Big Ten West. They got a transfer quarterback from Georgia Tech, Jeff Sims, who's a dual threat guy. He started a lot of games at Georgia Tech. They're 102nd in scoring offense and 77th in scoring defense. There's a lot to fix there in Lincoln.
I have Nebraska 4th at 7-5 and 4-5 in conference. That week 2 matchup next week's gonna be interesting out in Boulder, Colorado, against Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, and Colorado. Nebraska used to be a Big 12 rivalry. So that's going to be an interesting one. They also play in a non-con. They host Northern Illinois and host Louisiana Tech. So pretty manageable home stretch for the non-con there. But I didn't have too many notes written on them besides what you already said about Matt Rule and Jeff Sims, the transfer from Georgia Tech. So my 5th pick was the Illinois Fighting Illini. I have them 6-6, 3-6 in the conference. I'm probably not giving them enough credit. I still think their defense is going to be pretty good, even though I'm hoping it's not, because that means then Ryan Walters meant that much to the program. But I don't know much about their transfer quarterback either. I'll just let you take it away with Illinois. I don't know where you have them finishing, but I
haven't finished
a lot more than I do. A lot more than I do.
I have them finishing 4th at 7-5. I think their floor is 6-6, probably ceiling 8-4. This is the first time coming into the year that we think, man, if Illinois doesn't make a bowl, it was pretty disastrous season. So I think they'll be solid. Luke Altmaier is their new quarterback from Ole Miss. Started a few games there, but then decided to transfer. Has 3 years of eligibility. From everything I've read, as far as practice goes, he looks like the real deal as well. He's a good leader. Very accurate quarterback. Reminds him a little bit of Tommy DeVito last year, except he doesn't have that kind of personality. But if I told you Isaiah Williams is the leading returning pass catcher in the Big Ten, would you believe me?
Nope.
He had 82 catches last year, which is more than Marvin Harrison, who had 77, and then Emeka whatever his name is, Egbuka, who had over 70 catches. Of course, Charlie Jones is in the NFL now. But he had 82 catches. They think he'll have obviously a very big role, but they think he'll have a fantastic senior year. He's either a junior or senior. It's COVID rules are still.
It's so hard to tell. Yeah.
Defense should be really good again. They have the law firm back. Newton and Randolph there in the middle. Newton's a projected first-round pick. Could be Defensive Player of the Year. They're hoping in the Big Ten. They did, however, lose their entire secondary to the NFL. 3 guys got drafted in the first 3 rounds, and then Kendall Smith was an undrafted free agent by the Washington Commanders. They think he'll make the team, so they have to replace those guys. However, a lot of those guys sat out of the bowl game, and so some of the young guys got some opportunities against a team that throws the ball a ton in Mississippi State. I think they only gave up 10 or 13 points. So hopefully that carries into the year. They do have a transfer safety from FIU, Demetrius Hill, who was a freshman All-American last year, had close to 100 tackles. They think he'll kind of be a star on their defense, but they will be missing one of their better safeties in Matthew Bailey this week, and I think week 2 as well, because he had an injury in spring ball. I think he'll be back shortly, but it's all about quarterback play. But Illinois returned, I think, 4 starters on the offensive line. The running backs obviously losing Chase Brown, who had 1,600 yards, is a big loss, but Reggie Love's back, who had a really good game against Northwestern the final week of the year, and Josh McCray as well. And they have a true freshman, Caden Fegan, who should be getting a lot of opportunities in the backfield. So overall, I think 6-6 to 8-4, which is where we both have them.
Yep.
Makes sense for them.
Who do you got finishing number 3?
I have the Minnesota Golden Gophers.
We are on the same page there. I have them 8-4, 6-3 in conference.
I have them 7-5 as well. Quarterback play was bad last year. Tanner Morgan got hurt, and he was not effective when he was in there. So Ethan Kaliakmanis,
good pull, because I didn't want to read that one.
Who should be the starter is back there. He was okay. Chris Ottman-Bell is back for his about 12th season.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
At Minnesota. They do have a transfer wide receiver from Western Michigan, Corey Crooms, who had over 800 yards there. They also have a transfer running back from Western Michigan, Sean Tyler, over 1,000 yards the last 2 seasons. And they have a transfer linebacker from Western Michigan, Jack Seelig, who had 70 tackles for them. So I don't think
Fleck's been there since 2017, so I wouldn't.
Fleck stealing any of these guys.
No. They think they're gonna have a 3-head monster at running back with Taylor, Zach Evans, and Darius Taylor. So they have 2 Taylors there. That's weird. But they only have 2 returning offensive linemen or starting offensive linemen. That was kind of the strength of their team last year. Of course, with Mohammed I don't remember what his last name was. I am butchering this. But Minnesota's got an interesting non-conference. They host Eastern Michigan after hosting Nebraska this week. Then they go to North Carolina week 3, and then they have Louisiana in week 5 they host. So kind of interesting there. Who do you got finishing second?
I have the Wisconsin Badgers at 8-4.
I have the Iowa Hawkeyes at 9-3.
Wisconsin, Tanner Mordecai transfer from SMU, 33 touchdown passes.
Great first name.
Of course. Oh man, why did I not write his name down? Luke Fickell. Is there at Wisconsin, leaving Cincinnati. They got a transfer from Temple. He's an outside linebacker, defensive end. Darian Varner had 7.5 sacks last year. It's kind of hard to project where these new head coached teams are going to finish, but Luke Fickell has a track record of building a pretty good program there, and with the transfer portal, you can be good right away. Yeah,
and their defense returns 8 starters. Braylon Allen, stud running back, but they brought in an air raid offensive coordinator. So kind of like Purdue, it's going to be interesting if they go complete air raid or like a mix. Got to think it's going to be a mix with the running back stables there and the tradition at Wisconsin. But the reason I have Wisconsin winning the Big Ten, and I have them at 10-2 and 8-1 in conference, because I think they caught a break with their schedule this year.
Yeah.
They're not con. They host Buffalo. They go to Washington State, which that is one of my 2 losses for them, is out there at Washington State. And then they host Georgia Southern, but they have no Michigan on the schedule. Ohio State they do, but they host them. They usually do pretty well at Camp Randall against Ohio State. I mean, other than that, I mean, their toughest road game probably at Illinois, or it could be at Minnesota with rivalry week. I actually have them losing at Minnesota.
Illinois did go into Camp Randall and beat them 34-10 last year.
Yeah. So, I mean, they get Iowa at home. Like I said, Ohio State at home. They get Nebraska at home. They go to Purdue, but they haven't lost to Purdue since 2003. So, yeah. So I have them 1, and I have the Hawkeyes at 9-3, 6-3 in the conference, finishing runner-up.
I have them winning it at 8-4. I think the winner of the West will be 8-4 again.
I'll probably give them too much credit at 10-2 with Wisconsin, but that's what I do every year. I put the Big Ten up way too high because.
Yeah, Iowa scored 17 points a game last year. There's now something in Ferentz's contract that they have to score at least 21. So when they have an opportunity, they're going to be running up that score because Kirk doesn't want to let his son go. Cade McNamara is coming in, who battled out with JJ McCarthy for like 2 years, it felt like. And he finally left, although he is coming off an injury. And they asked him, I literally watched something on the news when I was in Iowa this past weekend. And he sounds, I'm doing okay. So yeah, I don't know if
he didn't want to talk about it very much. Yeah. So yeah, I saw that clip.
The defense should be great, as it is always.
And special teams should be good too.
Yeah. They did lose their top defensive tackle, Noah Shannon, for the entire season with a gambling suspension.
That's right.
The defense still, it probably shouldn't matter. If the offense can score 21 to 24 points a game, they have a real good shot to maybe even win 10 games because that defense will be so good.
Yeah. They also got McNamara, one of his targets, Eric All, transfer tight end from Michigan. And then they got Seth Anderson, wide receiver from Charleston Southern, and Caleb Brown, wide receiver from Ohio State, I presume. I put OSU. I presume that's Ohio State, not Oregon State.
Or Oklahoma State.
Or Oklahoma State. Yeah, I think it's Ohio State. So, so yes, you got Iowa against Michigan, and I have Wisconsin against Penn State. Who do you have winning the Big Ten?
I have Michigan over Iowa.
I have Penn State over Wisconsin. So, with that said, before we get into predicting games, who are your 4 playoff teams?
I have Michigan, Florida State, Georgia, and Alabama.
We're pretty darn close, really. I have Georgia, Penn State, Texas, and Michigan.
Interesting.
I think Texas loses to Bama, but then runs wild in the Big 12. So, yep.
And then who do you have winning it all?
I have Georgia.
I have Georgia again as well.
Yep, three-peat dynasty until somebody knocks them off. I mean, just plug and play with those teams. Plug and play.
Big Ten pick'em. We only have about 5 minutes left, so we got to rifle through these. Nebraska at Minnesota on Thursday.
Yeah, Minnesota's a 7.5-point favorite. I am taking the Golden Gophers with 3 confident points.
I have Minnesota for 1. I think it'll be a pretty close game. Obviously, don't know what to expect, and I think that's tough for Minnesota, not knowing and not having any film on Nebraska whatsoever. Central Michigan at Michigan State.
Michigan State 14.5-point favorite. Like I said, directional school games are always a little scary, but I have the Spartans winning, but 4 confident points.
I have Michigan State for 7. They always play that Friday night. It always seems like it's a pretty close game, too, opening week. East Carolina at Michigan.
Michigan 35.5-point favorite. Doesn't matter if their head coach isn't on the sidelines. Wolverines 10 confident points.
I have Michigan for 10 as well. Utah State at Iowa.
Iowa 25-point favorites. I have Iowa for 7.
I have Iowa for 8. Fresno State at Purdue.
Scary one for the Boilermakers. Like I said, Fresno State, 10-win team come back. Their quarterback, they did lose to the pros to the Saints, but they have a head coach who's coached Aaron Rodgers back in the day at Cal. He's 61 years old, coached all over. Kevin Coyle, defense coordinator, used to be a defense coordinator in the pros.
Oh, man, he was the worst defensive coordinator in Miami. I hated that guy. I hadn't even heard that name for years until you brought it up. Now,
you're welcome.
You're
welcome. You're welcome. Boilers head coach has not won their opening debut since Danny Hope in 09 against Toledo.
Oh, wow.
But I have Ryan Walters and the Boilers winning. Boilers are 4-point favorites, but only for 2 confident points because it's a lot of unknowns.
Right. I also have Purdue for 2. I think Purdue pulls it out at home. There's going to be an excitement in the air. Of course, there's always an excitement in the air week 1. But
there was for Darrell Hazel too, and then Cincinnati being 42-7. So
yeah, that was on the road though. But at home, you have a new head coach there. I think Purdue pulls her out. I do think it'll be pretty close though. Ohio State at Indiana.
Ohio State's a 30-point favorite. This game's on CBS. I got the Buckeyes for 9.
I have Ohio State for 9 as well. Buffalo at Wisconsin.
Badgers 27-point favorites. I got them for 8.
I have them for 6. Towson at Maryland.
I got Maryland for 11. There's no spread in this game.
I do too. West Virginia at Penn State.
Penn State 20-point favorite. This is the NBC, the debut NBC game for the Big Ten. 6 points on the Nittany Lions.
I have Penn State for 5. Toledo at Illinois.
I got the Illini for 5. Illini are 9-point favorites.
I have Illinois for 3. Interesting one here. Johnny Newton, who is one of the law firm on the defense staff. His brother is a wide receiver at Toledo. So this is interesting. Toledo is projected to win the MAC, so I think it'll be pretty close.
MAC teams are always kind of scary too.
They are, but Illinois should win in the trenches pretty easily, you'd think. But I think it'll be pretty close. Illinois for 3. And then Northwestern at Rutgers. I almost called them Buckers.
Rutgers 6-point favorites. I got them winning, but only for 1. I just don't think either of these teams is going to be good.
I have Rutgers for 4. I don't think either team's very good either. But actually, I have not done a bucket prediction.
No, you have not.
I have Ohio State covering that 30-point spread. I think it'll be a whooping there. I apologize to all Hoosier fans. J-Man's Book It Prediction of the Week brought to you by Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance Agent Travis Watching for life, home, auto, business, renters, workers' comp, and farm insurance. Contact Travis at 219-869-4561. His email is travis.watching@infb.com.
Any good top 25 games? I know Notre Dame plays Tennessee State. Notre Dame's going to win by 1 million, so we don't really need to talk about that.
It looks like Notre Dame plays at NC State this week.
No, they host Tennessee State. NC State's next week.
ESPN College, because September 5th, right? Yeah. Oh no, I'm in week 2. My apologies.
I was gonna say.
Oh man,
I was gonna say they were on NBC. They were advertising Tennessee State. So.
I remember seeing it too.
Yeah, Sam Hartman will throw for about 400.
Florida at Utah.
Give me the Utes.
Give me Utah as well. Deion's debut at 17 TCU.
TCU's
20.5-point favorites. I have TCU as well. Boise State at Washington.
Washington, even though I was ready to pick Washington for one of my playoff teams since I haven't won the Pac-12, their running backs out for the season.
Give me Washington as well. Sunday night, we have LSU against Florida State in Orlando.
Oh, man, that's going to be a good one. It was a good one last year. Give me the Noles in a close one.
I agree. LSU's favored, though. And then Monday night, Clemson at Duke.
I like this Duke team. I have them third in the ACC, but Clemson's my runner-up. Give me Dabo and the Tigers.
Give me Clemson as well. Heading on to Birdie Bogey real quick before we sign off. Corbin Carroll became the 4th rookie in MLB history with 20 homers and 40 steals in a season. Can you name the only other player to have done this in our lifetime? Only other rookie to have done this in our lifetime?
I think this guy did it at a young age, but I don't know if it was his rookie season, and maybe he didn't quite get 40. I know he got 20. Alex Rodriguez.
Oh, man, that's a good guess. But you're wrong. It is Mike Trout.
That's why the Angels ruined the guy, because he doesn't even come to my mind.
Yeah, it's
what am I, 3 strokes down now?
Yeah, you are. That was a tough one. I'll throw you a softball here the next time I go. Thanks for watching the Tan and J-Man Show. We got our NFL preview next week. Have a fantastic football watching weekend, everybody, and we'll be back at her next Monday on Labor Day.